We are Movie Menu Reviews. M for Menudo, E for Enchiladas, N for Nachos, and U for Uranus. On today's menu, we'll be reviewing Pet Sematary, Shazam, and our season finale picks.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast, live on Facebook. Thank you so much if you're watching us live, or if you're listening to us on iTunes or podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for listening as well. Joining us today on our season finale episode, we have two very useless guests.
Yeah, that's
always.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. Right.
Joining us today is my co-host and panelist, Z.
Hey. Thank you. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Did you go somewhere? You were here last week.
I transformed into a much more muscular version of myself.
Did you?
No, it was not what you expected though.
You did not Captain America yourself.
I did not. I'm more like Ant-Man myself.
He was in the Upside Down.
I was in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone who was originally from the Upside Down is my co-host Mike Stan.
He's a demigorgon. Is that what you're trying to say?
I am a demigorgon. Thank you for noticing.
No, he's more like a demi-more.
I thought you were gonna say demi-moron, and I was like, dude, that's messed up.
Can I be a demi-dog? No,
you just
a demi-dumbass is what you are.
Okay, I'll settle for that.
Yo, you're cool with that.
You're my man now, dog.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
On that note, also, who's one of our dogs is the new trailer for the Joker film came out, directed by Todd Phillips, that will be out in October of this year. It seems to be kind of separated, but maybe not separated from the DC universe.
Right. What I was telling Mike earlier was that this is an Elseworld movie that Todd Phillips is now kind of like directing. I mean,
there's rumors that Joaquin Phoenix visited the set of Birds of Prey with
that's curious,
with Margot Robbie.
Yeah. But
that's not confirmed or denied.
I think ultimately DC's best venture in this, and we'll talk about Shazam, is that let the audience decide what this movie is before expanding out. And I think that just from watching the trailer with Joaquin Phoenix, it looks like they're telling a different story of the Joker. And even at that, something probably similar to say to the Gotham TV show, where, the storyline in Gotham is that the city is corrupted, the city is sick, and the way that the city kind of like shows a little bit of that sickness is by creating Jokers, multiple Jokers, and that would fit in the comics too. So I think if they try doing an Elseworld where this is the seed that Heath Ledger's Joker takes on, I think that would be really cool. You know what I mean?
It's set like prior to obviously when Batman wasn't even.
You see Bruce Wayne in the trailer. That little boy, he goes up to the gate.
Right, but I'm saying Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne are still alive.
They're still alive. Yeah.
So it could be.
Yeah, so I like the idea of creating an Elseworld. I am, however, hesitant to say that I'm really excited over this film because Todd Phillips, I don't know, I feel like Todd Phillips is a hit or miss. So
you mind quickly explaining what the Elseworld is?
So again, Elseworld is something that DC Comics uses as a means to kind of rewrite history in the comic lore. So if, for example, the comic doesn't actually do well or they need to retcon it in some way, they'll just say, hey, that story is an Elseworld story. A lot of like Batman's like Elseworld or really like canonized stories have become Elseworlds, similar to say like the Dark Knight Returns.
They're like one-offs basically.
Yeah, they're like one-offs, but they're like one-offs that are like done post. So like again, the Dark Knight Returns was like Frank Miller's amazing story. That's an Elseworld. That's not an actual in continuity story.
Also, just so you know who Todd Phillips is, where Z says he's a hit or miss. He did the films Road Trip, Old School, Starsky and Hutch.
Yep.
He did all the 3 Hangover movies.
Yeah, so he did Hangover 1, Hangover 2, Hangover 3.
He did War Dogs,
which was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will see if Joker, though it might get a theatrical release, but it's mainly for Netflix as well.
That's curious to hear that. And I think that
and originally Martin Scorsese wanted to direct it or produce it, and he's not involved anymore.
Yeah. And you can tell that there's a lot of Scorsese in this direction style, because there's a lot of like Kings of Comedy in the way that the movie looks like it's shot. So it's just really interesting. I'm really curious to see what they do with it.
Brian Lozano says hello, everyone.
Hey,
hello,
what's up,
Brian.
How's it going,
Thank
Brian?
you for watching.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and actually go to the first review for us, which is Pet Sematary.
Movie menu.
All right, so the movie we're reviewing is Pet Sematary, directed by Kevin Koch and Dennis Woodmeyer, based on a novel by Stephen King, adapted by Matt Greenberg and Jeff Buhler. Here's the plot. Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife Rachel relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. Starring Jason Clarke, Amy Simes, Jette Lawrence, and John Lithgow. All right, guys, depending on your spoiler-free review, we would decide, I would decide, since we just did this movie, right? Everyone saw it?
Yes.
Yes.
If this movie is worth a dine and watch in theaters, take away and watch it at home, or leftovers, bury yourself in this cemetery and come back from the dead, or kill yourself.
No, do we really want to condone suicide?
No, we don't want to condone suicide.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Yeah. Just watch the original.
Oh, watch the original.
Yeah.
All right, since this is the end of the season, points don't matter for us.
Yay.
And we'll go ahead and talk about points.
That's the great thing. Our points don't even matter at all.
For our guests. So we'll count them up and announce that next
those
season.
losers.
Next season.
Yeah.
Which probably won't happen either.
No.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and rate this film. Mike?
I'm going to say Takeout.
Z?
I will also finally agree once with Mike that this movie is a takeout.
I'm going to give it a dine-in.
I knew you would. I figured one of you guys would, because here's the thing, right? This movie, it's not exactly a scary movie. I think that there are elements that are very scary in this movie. However, if you love horror, this movie it's not going to scare you. I was in the theater bored the entire time. I knew what was going to happen beat by beat.
What?
And
it's a remake. So.
Well, it's a remake. However, they did something completely different with it. So
which I applaud them. And
I do too.
And I think that was a smart idea. I
agree. I feel like this ending was way more hardcore than the original.
I agree.
And so
they went for it, and they did not shy away.
They didn't apologize, which I really appreciated that. However,
that's what got me to be a dine-in, was that ending. Because I thought that
I could dig that.
The original ending, the wife is the one that comes back. Spoilers for the original Cemetery. But in this one,
I wouldn't say
it's a different totally ending.
Yeah, it's a much more satisfying ending. I
agree.
And so, with that being said, this movie does have that going for it. But if again you're a horror fan, you're not scared. I wasn't scared at all watching this movie. I was actually kind of bored watching it because I knew what was going to happen, and there were some PC lines that I was like, ooh, curious that you're doing that.
Interesting. Which PC lines?
Well, one for which they didn't mention at all that it's an Indian burial ground, because of course you can't say that anymore. So that was one of like the very.
They mentioned there was a tribe.
They said a tribe, exactly. They said tribe. They didn't say Indian burial ground, and I'm pretty sure in the original they said Indian burial ground. So I thought that was an interesting sort of like misdirect. I was like, listen, guys, we understand this movie was written in the 70s. You can say that. That's acceptable because it's in a narrative. So the fact that they kind of skirted over that was a little annoying. The other part for me was just the way that they showed, what did the sister have? She had
muscular dystrophy?
Yeah, the way that was utilized, I thought was like, it was like, yeah, okay. Thanks, Stephen. We know
that's a book thing, though.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And so because it was shown in that way, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm not entirely enthusiastic about this point. So it was just I don't know. What did you guys think? Did you actually feel scared in this movie?
They had some moments of like, I love horror. Horror is my genre that I like to go to, and I feel like was it like a horror fest where I was scared? No. But there were some cool moments where you feel the tension, and I liked that tension being built. And I liked where the story was going. and I appreciated what they did to update this film.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah,
about you, Mike?
okay.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like a better version of the Lazarus Effect. If you guys remember that movie.
Oh, jeez.
No.
No.
So the Lazarus Effect.
Oh, man.
I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember.
You mean
it.
that movie that
In
had
space.
the potential of... No,
Right?
Lazarus Effect was in a lab. And
Yeah,
where we thought that the dog was going to be the demon, but they completely rewrote... Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you remember it. Yeah, with Olivia Wilde. And so the Lazarus Effect, that film, it had like... It was basically scatterbrained. It had like a lot of different like subplots in here.
Yeah.
And I understand like they're getting source material from the novel, which, I mean, a novel is basically like a TV show season's worth of material.
Yes.
So naturally, when you're trying to adapt this to a film, there's a lot of subplots you got to cut out. And I think that I know they did the flaws of the original carried over to the remake. But I still, this is definitely scarier than the original. I think the original is very, it's very dated. If you just watch clips and you're like, okay,
like, oh, okay, you simply put talcum powder in a kid's face and pretended they were dead.
Yeah, I don't think it aged as well as other horror films, but I think as a remake, I thought they did a pretty good job with it. But I think there's so many like other subplots and also rules that are set up that I feel like
were broken.
Very specifically, like it wasn't clear to me if it was like if the land was haunted, if the house was haunted, because stuff is happening everywhere, like even away from the house, stuff is still happening. So what is exactly going on here in this film?
Yeah.
So
I think in that, but I'm okay with not. That's not a rule that they established. Not setting up the rules for us to understand is also a technique that can be used because the people don't understand what the rules are. And for them to not go into what was haunted and what was not haunted, I actually enjoyed that because they wouldn't know.
Because, I mean, I understand that, but like as a story, it's just like anything can happen, even things that don't make sense.
Yeah, and I think...
Well, I feel like since they've been there, they're connected to that land, and that land itself was
so you feel
cursed.
like the land is following them. I did.
Well, I think for me, from what I'm understanding, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but
Sure.
what you're talking about is like the way that the wife is haunted. How
that's
she
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So I forget her name. Rachel, I think. Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel seems to me. And again, this is for me one of those issues of like, all right, mental illness being used as another horror trope. Was that like she was?
It's not mental illness; it's trauma.
Well, yeah, it's similar. It means PTSD. There's a lot, but there's like a lot of hallucinations. You're not really sure whether or not she is haunted or not. I guess we assume that it's a haunting just because, again, she keeps going from place to place in the story.
Yeah.
And she keeps on reliving those experiences. And I wasn't very clear, like, is this simply trauma?
Exactly.
Or is this a haunting? And then for me, with the dad, with Lewis's character, I had similar things where I was like, I'm not sure if this is the house or if it's a haunting. I'm not really clear as to what is happening with his character. So for me, that was just very confusing. I love the story, however. So there are really good positives in the story.
Wait, before you move on,
but just to clarify about the horror, the way that the deaths in this movie occur and the way that things come back, that was what I think was awesome. They could have lost all the hauntings. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so there was more subtext than they should have included.
Way more.
Well, Brian Lozano has a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Z, specifically for you.
Go for it.
Why can't you mention Indian burial grounds anymore? And do we call it a Native American burial ground instead?
Yeah, you would actually have to refer to it by what we now use the term as is the Native Americans.
I would have liked that little dialogue in between the husband and wife. If the husband said like oh, it's an Indian burial ground, and then the wife says
you can't say that anymore.
That's racist.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine doing that.
Or John Lithgow's character said Indian, and the wife was like, "You mean Native American?"
or Lewis going back to the wife and going, "You wouldn't believe how racist our neighbor is." That would have been a fun moment. But yes, the reason why is because it's no longer.
The wife meets the neighbor first. But go on.
Actually, the daughter meets the neighbor.
The daughter meets
which is
the
kind
daughter
of
wouldn't.
And so here,
which is a creepy scene in itself.
I was gonna say that. I was like that
Right?
was another moment that like if you dropped the whole haunting situation and made the Lithgow character a little creepier because he was already very creepy. I think you would have amplified it a little bit more. So I think it was just like a lost opportunities, as Mike was saying, very similar to that other movie, The Lazarus Effect, where there were subplots that could have gone in better directions. And hell, if they were already rewriting the story, it would have just been cool to kind of like insert a sort of like, hey, this old man might be a pedophile. That's kind of scary on its own.
It is.
I don't know if it's necessary though.
No, you wouldn't. It would have been like a small subplot. And he says something really strange in the movie though that kind of gears it. He says oh, she was the first person who's ever touched me since my wife, and I was like, ew. Right? Do you remember that line? That was a very odd line.
I do remember that line. Yeah, and there's like weird things happening like in that film that just like I think no parents would normally be okay with. Like they wouldn't let their daughter go and play at this new neighbor's house that they barely even know. Like, why would they be okay with that?
Yeah,
because like the daughter is already like bringing lunch to the old man neighbor, and they haven't like there isn't even like a connection established with them yet.
Yeah,
so that's like weird writing,
Mike, that's a small town feel. We live in the big city. I think that's more common.
No, because these are people from Boston moving to a small town.
Yeah,
and so you could have easily established that, like, hey, we don't let our kids do that because that's fucking weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that's weird. You had a moment in the story where it did that,
and there's a lot of and I agree.
There are so many moments where this movie kind of like it really requires you to leap a little bit from logic, and that's definitely one of them.
Well, no, because from what I understand,
leaving a kid in the car is another one. Like, there's so many leaps.
Is that they're trying to build this friendship between the neighbor and the daughter, which uses the cat as a device to which is all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, but
we already know based on the trailer.
Yeah, I think the trailer
the cat comes back,
and she comes back too. That's in the trailer. We don't know what happens after that. So I think that just simply like the way that they introduced a neighbor, that didn't really work for me. And again, just to clarify, you can't really say Indian anymore because although there is a national sports team called the Indians, and people are trying to get that changed too because it's racist. So anyways, this movie. Now the really interesting part for me was the acting in this movie. So if anything, go watch it for the acting. Again, I don't think you have to rush out to the theater to watch it. However, the acting in this movie is pretty stellar. I thought that the way that Jason Clarke just portrayed grief, there was a moment in the movie where I was like, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like I felt really bad. Like, your kid dies, you don't want to deal with that grief. So, and if you know that there's a place that can bring them back to life, would you do it? That's a great Stephen King question.
I like that morality issue in that question. Would you do that?
Yeah, and I think I would. I think I was like, hey, I believe Jason Clarke, and I believe that he's going through that much grief. I thought that was portrayed perfectly. I think Jason Clarke is amazing as an actor. It's just, this movie has issues, but that for me was like really good. And the way that Jete, the little daughter, girl, Ellie does the retransformation. There are moments in the movie where when she's reanimated. Is that the correct term? When she's reanimated, that I was giggling a little bit just because it looked like it was intentional, but it was still really funny. Like, there's a moment where her eye is like going in the wrong direction.
It was intentional. It was great. The special effects were great in this film.
And I thought that like it's weird though because I liked the Ellie character a lot more when she was dead. I don't know why. I just enjoyed her. I was like,
maybe it says a lot about you.
She's really obnoxious as an alive child, but when she's dead, she's kind of cool and stabby. I mean, it's just really cool.
I don't remember if they talked about. No, I guess I shouldn't talk about it.
I would have preferred like the shifting of the acts. I would have preferred the third act to be the second act, and the second act to be the first act. And I think there was like a missing opportunity here of a much more fun third act.
Well, and that's very interesting because you can tell that they were playing around with the editing because the movie begins at the ending.
Yeah.
It doesn't show you.
Yeah.
It just shows you like the aftermath, right? The house burning,
Yeah.
blood trails. Like you see all of that. You don't know what happened or who's died or whatever, which is cool. I think that's a great way of starting the movie. But you can tell that they were playing around with how do we play with the acts? How do we make them any much better that way?
Yeah, and they actually had like a few. They actually had at least like 2 separate endings already, and they weren't sure like which way to go. And the production. I'm sorry, Paramount.
Yeah,
Paramount.
Paramount. They ended up giving the green light. Like, take it as far as you guys want.
That's cool.
So
That's
without
good.
without
It's good that they did.
And we have to say that's probably it's credit to it, right? Like it kind of like remade horror a little bit, and it allowed for a much more extreme look at what you can do with children in movies, and I think that's really cool.
Speaking of it, don't you have something you want to talk about, Mike?
Yes, I do. So first, so the director. So the director of it was the director of Mama. So the one of the directors here for Pet Sematary is actually going to make the sequel to Mama Part 2.
Oh.
So that's actually in production. There isn't a release date for it yet. I'm curious what you guys think.
Are you sure it's not Mamma Mia? Like that's
it's the scary Mamma Mia.
Well, the first 2 were kind of scary.
The first intentionally scary Mamma Mia. No, but
Andy Muschietti. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious what you guys think if one of these directors.
Well, and these are
slated to direct Mama 2.
Wait, so are they gonna separate? Because I know that Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer are actually partners. So
Widmeyer's not listed as co-director for Mama 2, so I don't know if this is going to be the first like split for that.
That would be curious. And for me, I think that's kind of what made this movie a little bit jarring too, was the fact that there was 2 directors. But yeah, it would be interesting to see what they can do with it. I'm again right. For me, the ending in this movie is what makes the movie worth it. So if they can do something like that, then I'm absolutely happy for. But can we get back to talking about how many plot holes there is in this movie?
Sure.
For example, if you know that there's the trailers that zoom on by your property, why don't you build a fence?
So like,
why don't you put a fence up? I mean, you know that it happens.
The film like so.
That's the yeah.
We I don't know if you guys saw the original, and it wouldn't be spoiler for me to give away like
the original. No, go ahead.
Or even to give away things in the first.
It's been 30 years, Mike. You can go for it.
So the beginning of the film, it begins with a character that gets like murdered by he gets hit by a truck. So and then we already know in the trailer that the cat also gets hit by a truck. So like they keep seeing these. You see this pattern. You get. Someone else is going to get hit by a truck, and like the wife wants to get out of there. It's like, things aren't looking so good. The wisest thing would be to just get out of there. If you have like a highway where like super fast like semi trucks are constantly killing everybody.
It's a pretty good sign that you're gonna die. It's like honest. I mean, I was like, okay, fine, it's a movie, whatever. I'll have to accept that. But I was like, that's a huge plot hole. You shouldn't let your kids on the street, especially if you know that things die there.
Yeah, and then the doctor that comes, he is helping somebody who gets hit by a truck and is like instantly being haunted by him, like his body's still warm and he's already haunted by the guy.
That was weird. Yeah.
So it's like it's very strange,
right? And it doesn't really set the rules up as to why that happens. The other part was like this really questionable moment of what is death and what happens after death. But I thought that was a really curious question to like bring into a Stephen King story. I don't know if that's in the original or not. But I thought that was really interesting. I just think that the adaptation was really like well done. And so I think if you want to go watch a movie that will probably get you a little scared, this will do the trick. It's definitely not the best. I think it still kind of is up there as far as being able to scare you. But ultimately, it's like, this is an okay movie to watch at home with popcorn in the dark at 2 a.m.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions?
No, I think we could go ahead and move on to the next review.
All right.
So we say takeout, I guess. It's 2 against 1.
2 against 1. We win.
Damn you guys. So let's go ahead and move on to the next review.
Mm-hmm.
Movie menu.
So the next film we are reviewing is Shazam!
Thank you. You said with the exclamation point. Going on.
Directed by David F. Sandberg, based on the characters by Bill Parker and C.C. Beck, adapted by Henry Gayden and Darren Lemke. Here's the plot. We all have a superhero inside us. Yes, we do. It just takes a little bit of magic to bring it out. In Billy Batson's case, by shouting out the word Shazam! This streetwise 14-year-old foster kid can turn into the adult superhero Shazam, or Captain Sparkle Fingers, or Thunder Butt Crack, or a plethora of names. Starring Zachary Levi, Jack Dylan Grazer, Asher Angel, and Mark Strong. All right, guys, so we have all seen this film, so I shall decide this movie's worth the dine and watch it in theaters, take out, wait and watch it at home, or leftovers. Say the wrong word and become
a slug. A slug instead.
A puddle of poo instead.
Okay, all right.
All right, so again, no points matter. So let's go ahead and rate this film. Z, you go first this time.
I will say that this is a dine-in. Go watch it in theaters. This movie is not as good as Aquaman, but that's not saying very much. This movie was actually enjoyable. So I say, you know what? If you have a reason to escape the heat, go watch this in theaters. The spectacle is pretty well done. So CGI is pretty bad depending on the screen you watch it in, but otherwise, it's a fun story, and I think that's what we want from DC. We want something fun, and this movie delivers.
Okay, I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Did you watch it in 3D?
I did not. I watched it in Dolby Cinema, so I watched it in like the full crisp screen.
I watched it in 3D.
Was it worth the 3D?
And it was. It's dine-in for sure for me.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
It looked amazing. Well, the way I saw it,
I'm glad it did, but again, right? That's the issue with going. I forget what version of it's a 4K or it's like 10K when we watch it in Dolby Cinema. So it's like higher quality, and you really can see, like in the same way that when you watch The Matrix on a high 4K definition TV, you can tell the difference. You can really tell the difference in Dolby Cinema. So don't go watch it there if you really want to watch it. So I'm guessing 3D might look better.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm gonna say takeout. It was a takeout for me.
Oh, wow.
I did see it in 2D, so I didn't see the 3D.
I kind of understand. Well, actually, here, what made it for you to take up?
I think.
So first of all, Brian Lozano wants to say boo because he was excited about this review. So just putting that out there.
He was
boo you guys.
Boo us
because we didn't like it as much. I'm not.
Go
Brian,
on.
please clarify. Mike, what were you saying?
Oh yeah. So I guess the two. So first, I want to say, yeah, there are definitely fun scenes between the two Foster brothers. I think it was fun back and forth between them, and obviously, and it does some like homage to the film Big with Tom Hanks.
Oh,
as well,
they make a lot of homages,
which was fun. And I did enjoy the special effects for it as well. I thought it was pretty cool. The stuff that didn't work as well for me was I thought this film was a little longer than it should have been.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. Yeah,
and I felt like there was like inconsistency in acting between like the Shazam adult and the Shazam child.
Yeah,
Billy Batson and Shazam.
Yeah. Billy Batson and Shazam, like they just seem like two separate people. We're like,
It's funny because, all right, so to talk to you about the first thing, pacing in this movie is all over the shop. Pacing is an issue done by directing, by editing. Sorry. So if a movie feels like it's moving too fast or too slow, that's usually an editing issue. And I agree 100%. I actually did feel the movie slowed down, and I felt like the movie was longer than it actually was.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think for me, the thing that made it still enjoyable was the fact that Billy Batson, Shazam, and Freddy's character, their dynamics were the thing that kept me with it. I enjoyed being around Freddy. I enjoyed, even though his face looks like a rat squirrel, wherever they call it. Like there are so many fun little moments between these two characters, and I like the way that that Zachary Levi played Billy Batson as an adult. I think that was very much what you would expect a kid to do. If a kid had the abilities that to grow up that way, you would go to a strip club.
Well, you go back
and that's great.
And you go back to Big, like the character of when in Big, the kid was different from what Tom Hanks was. They were not the same type of characters as well.
And I would argue that they're probably the same character because a lot of moments are what is Shazam doing? Is he actually being a hero? No, he's a street performer. He's trying to hustle as much money as possible to get to the next place. So his motives are exactly the same. He's like, all right, now I got these special powers, but he's ultimately just doing what kids do, which is show off. And he's doing that. And so that's where I think like there is a connection between these two characters. He doesn't jump right into being a superhero up until the final act when he's forced to. So I think
I don't mean it in terms of Zachary Levi not acting well as a kid, as an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like the connection between the two actors, like the consistency is not completely there. But I agree with you that he definitely seems like a kid as an adult. But I think but
not the same.
They didn't seem like they were the same people. Is what I mean.
That's curious. I didn't see that at all. And mind you, I haven't seen this movie a second time, which I probably should do.
I do see it and I get it, but I forgive it because if you are a superhero, from when your personality will be different from when you have the confidence of when you're a superhero and then when you're not confident when you're a regular person. So for me, I understood the different type of personalities that came out. For each character.
And I think for me, like just overall, I feel like with all the little comedy that's happening in the story, that I'm willing to excuse a lot of those little issues. Again, pacing being the biggest issue for me. But otherwise than that, I thought that the way that they felt this story along, up until the final act, I thought it was bold. I thought it was like, oh wow, DC's really going for it. They're really not shying away from like panning themselves a little bit.
Well, I like the fact that there's like different tones in this film as well, because it is lighthearted, but there's also like this dark, scary moments in it, which is due to David F. Sandberg, who created Lights Out, who directed Annabelle Creation. Right. So I like that duplicity of that tone.
Well, yeah, and I think overall, like there is some heavy-handed drama. Like, DC being the darker of the two universes, this movie actually does a pretty good job of playing on your heartstrings. Like I don't know what it is to be a foster child, but I really felt bad for Billy Batson, who was looking for his mom. And that, for me, was like there was a moment in that storyline, that subplot, that I really did feel for the kid. I was like, man, that really sucks. So I think that the way that David F. Sandberg directed this movie and the way that the story just overall, Billy Batson's arc went all the way around, I thought there was growth from point A to point C. I enjoyed being around Freddie and the other characters, the other foster kids, and that's another part for me, was that the representation was like on point in the comic books.
The kids in this film are amazing. I love the foster kids in this film.
And in the comic books, those characters are the same races as you see on the screen. They are that, and I was like, as a fan, right, of comic books, we always kind of talk about how like representation is not really there. They'll whitewash certain things. And I think that the way that they showcased all of the foster kids being of different ethnicities, that was really cool. And their character, you knew all of the characters. You knew that the little girl, Darla cannot keep a secret. I walked away going like, I can't trust Darla. There's no reason for me knowing that, but now I know that. I know that the one older girl is very anxious because she doesn't want to leave her family. It's like, oh, these characters were really well developed. And I think Sandberg, and I think that the way that the writers, Henry Gayden and Darren Lemke, wrote these characters out, I honestly felt like I cared more about these characters than I ever did about Batman versus Superman. And I think that's where this movie gets compared to, and I think we should. I think this movie is a family film, and I think that this movie has heart. And yes, there are these big action sequences, but they're not about world-ending events, right? This is not a Marvel Universe movie. This is a movie that's more localized, and I think I really enjoyed that more than anything else.
Well, I also really like the fact that, not to give too much away, but the opening of the film, we see a different champion, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I liked that mythos behind Shazam.
Yeah.
And I like that they carried it through, because you would think like, Billy Batson was the one and only, but you see the mythos behind that character and where it came from and where it developed into where now finally it was Billy Batson to become the one. I thought,
even at that, Billy Batson wasn't the one.
It wasn't. Yeah,
he was the last option. He was like nutty, and I think that's what makes him really flawed. I think that's what really does make him a very interesting character, is that he's a kid who really didn't want the powers, but that's what makes him the real champion, right? Like because he didn't really want it, and just ultimately giving the power to a kid who doesn't feel like he belongs makes him that much more enjoyable in comparison to Batman, who is like this rich ass kid who, okay, yeah, your parents died, that's really sad, but you don't have to, ruin your life about it. So that's what I kind of enjoyed, is that it's like this movie, it's levity, it's its strength. I think that's the other part too, is that you have Aquaman, who the movie is incredibly flawed, but it was a lot of fun to watch. And then you have Shazam following that up, and you're seeing where DC is going, and I think hopefully DC is learning from this. Make enjoyable films. You don't have to make your characters depressing. And now, given Joker's going to be something different, again, Elseworld, but
it's also a character study, so
yeah. But at the same time, it's like this movie is going to be fun, and I think Shazam was a lot of fun, and I really am enjoying where DC is going. What do you guys think? What do you think the future of DC holds?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next film. Mike might not be, though.
Yeah,
sure, I'll watch it either way. That's
do you
fine.
feel like DC is like going away from?
They're lightening up, but
yeah, they're not trying to connect everything right away. I think they're focusing on their individual stories,
and I think that's great.
I think they've come a long way since Suicide Squad.
That's the lowest benchmark, right?
So, like, I'm not saying like Shazam was an awful film. It's not. It has a lot of fun moments. But yeah, I agree with you guys that there's a lot of fun things to enjoy in this film. I would feel like this is probably the closest. Like, it almost felt like a DC equivalent of like Spider-Man to me.
For me, it felt a little more like Deadpool. There was moments in which they're really like really calling out a lot of inside DC universe things.
Okay.
Like even at that, like he grabs a doll of Batman and throws it at the bad guy
and
yells out, "Batman, get him!" Like, I'm Batman. Like it was really silly. Like there was even jokes about like Superman. Like it's like there's so many jokes on like all of the major DC characters, and I think that's because of the Freddy character, Jack Dylan Grazer's character, who is like this super nerd, and I think we may not be foster kids, but we're all Freddy. I feel like that's probably safe to say.
It's great that Freddy was there as a device to help the audience understand who these characters are if you're not a comic book fan.
Yeah, I think this will be a really good movie to show people who don't know DC. This will be the starter movie. Like it's like there's cracks about Aquaman. Like, why the hell would you want that superpower to talk to fish? Oh, I don't know, to command armies of like and it's like, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool skill to have. So it's like again, Freddy is super cool, and I really enjoyed him because he was us. He was us in that world.
Also, Shazam, he can never say his own name,
which is annoying.
Which is hilarious.
Very annoying, yeah.
So instead, they come up with these funny other names that I thought was hilarious to watch every time, because he can never say his name when he introduces himself. So they have to come up with these other names instead. I thought that was a funny plot device that they use in the film.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak spoilers, but the ending, that for me was I haven't clapped in the theater for a while, but I definitely clapped. I definitely was like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to see.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I think Mike disagrees.
Did you not have that moment where you realize what the character needed to do?
Yeah, no, it was great. I think it was a great great closure to the plot.
It was a great setup, because they were setting it up the entire movie, and then once you get to that moment where it happens, I was thrilled as a fan. I was thrilled because I knew that's where the comic goes, but I was also just thrilled to see that happen. And I literally was like, I was probably one of the only few was clapping in the theater, so it was kind of awkward.
I had a few. There were when I went to see it, there were a few people clapping in there as well. They're very, very vocal people,
right? Which is, by the way, again, right, not something I did at Suicide Squad. So this is a good direction to
step
go.
up.
Yeah,
And we have to say there are 2 post-credit scenes in this film.
yes.
One that hints to a future, and the other one is just a silly, fun one.
There is also a very clear Easter egg when they showcase when the wizard's giving like the history of everything to Billy Bats, and they talk about one who took the power and then destroyed the others, and you can tell that that's the Rock. So that
Black Adam.
It's the Black Adam character. And again, unless you don't know the characters, you don't care about the whole history of the universe, you're not going to see it. But if you're looking for it, it's there, and it's really cool because I'm really happy they didn't start the movie with Black Adam. I think that's another part that's really, really awesome, was that they're letting it, they're going to build Black Adam first on a separate movie and then bring them together to fight it out. I think that's a really cool way to doing it.
All right, final thoughts?
Go watch it. It's fun.
I agree. Go watch it in 3D. It's fun.
3D. Yeah, you don't have to do that.
3D. Go do it. Mike?
Either way, you'll enjoy it. For me, you could... Well, wait till it comes
Mike,
out.
Were you take out for both of these movies?
Yeah, I was take out for both of these movies.
Well, that's because you suck, man.
Agreed. All right, so we go ahead and we say dine in for Shazam, take out for Pet Sematary. Now let's talk about the this past season. Let's move on to the next segment.
Movie menu.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and discuss our top 3 picks of this past season, our top 3 most disappointing picks of this past season, and our one anticipated movie of next season that is not Avengers Endgame, because that is a cop-out.
We are coming back on Avengers, right?
Yes, we are. We're going to take a couple weeks break and come back to review Avengers Endgame. Though I do have to ask, because tickets did go on sale. Were you guys able to get your tickets?
For Avengers?
Yeah.
I was not.
I never get.
Mike doesn't play this game.
I just I don't.
Yeah.
You fools!
I'm guessing you got it.
I got 3 tickets for 3 different days.
So
I got the Thursday fan event.
Are you like gonna sell them after? What are you
I
doing? Are you scalping?
People
or what?
have been selling them though. People
for like $10,000 on eBay or whatever.
Is this a business that I'm unaware of?
Do not pay that much money for any tickets.
No, pay everything you can. Empty out your savings if you have to.
Listen, you can watch it on certain
financial advice.
Bankrupt yourself. That's what you must do.
So yeah, I got the fan event for Thursday. I got 4D Friday, and I got IMAX.
You know
you got 4D?
I got 4D.
Hold on.
IMAX 3D Saturday.
Okay, first of all,
Billy starts at $1,000.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, first of all, you did not get the fan event because the fan event was Wednesday.
No, the fan event's Thursday.
There is a Wednesday screening.
That's not a fan event then.
It is a fan event.
The official fan event is Thursday.
It wasn't. You're wrong. But
You're wrong.
I'm gonna go to Wednesdays. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there.
I'm just kidding. I really don't care. I'll probably see it the day before we podcast.
You probably watch it the day of.
Maybe the day of. Yeah.
Good luck getting tickets, because let me tell you, opening weekend it's almost sold out.
Crazy. I know. I need to go buy tickets.
I know. Yeah, there was one theater near us where they used to have.
So stay tuned when we do the review for Adventure Endgame.
None of us have watched it except
for me.
Yeah,
I'm the only one doing the review because
you're the only one that saw it 3 times.
3 times before we review it.
So just so you know, he's the asshole who's bought all the tickets.
I couldn't see it because Dan bought out all the tickets.
But you can trust my advice because I've seen it 3 times.
Right. Trust the fanboy. Go right ahead, Dan.
It's not fanboy. It's just the truth.
Eventually.
So now back on that. So we're taking a break to Avengers Endgame, but let's go ahead and talk about the movies of this past season.
How do you want to do it, Dan?
So we're gonna do one at a time. Mike, go ahead.
Are we doing our top or bottom?
Our top first.
Our top
okay.
first.
So
starting with 3.
Starting with 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3 for me will be Triple Frontier.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, you really like that one, huh?
I did. I had fun. I had fun with it. I had strong cast.
Bro down.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, no, it's a bro movie. It's a straight up bro movie. I mean, again, I forgot who the person was going to direct. Catherine Bigelow's going to direct it, and she does really good bro movies. So, like, this movie kind of like does really good job of showing you a different world.
Yeah, I really like the Hurt Locker, and I also enjoyed like the references to the Hurt Locker as well.
There's a lot, yeah.
And I enjoyed the film. What about you guys?
You You want me to go next?
There you go.
All right. For me, on my this is top again.
Yes.
All right. On my
Number 3 pick.
actually enjoyable ones was Happy Death Day for You.
Okay.
I really like this movie. It's incredibly flawed, but honestly,
it's fun.
They did something that I didn't think they would do, and they doubled down on it, on how stupid you can really make it. And I thought
and it went from a horror film to like a sci-fi, like
they figured out what they wanted to do. And I remember talking about it the first time we reviewed the original, where I was like, well, a lot of the things were in the trailer, and so I really wasn't enthusiastic about seeing the deaths. But in this one, they really kept a lot of things back, and they were able to just make an enjoyable movie. And yeah, you're right, it went from being a horror to being a sci-fi comedy, and I think that we need more sci-fi comedy in the world, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Okay, nice. I did enjoy it too. My number 3 pick is Alita Battle Angel.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
I thought.
I'm surprised.
I know.
You went in thinking it was not going to be that good or whatever, just because it was pushed back several months. They did a great job pushing it back because the special effects were amazing.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the story, and I thought that they knocked it out of the park. I had so much fun with this film. It was a lot better than I expected, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right, cool.
Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is your number 3, Alita.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you
go. Yeah. So for the exact same reasons, the special effects alone are it's
top notch.
It's worth that. That's
the price
worth
of admission?
watching. Yeah, that's worth watching. The film is the special effects are amazing. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out just for that alone.
All right, Z, what's your number 2?
Number 2, for me, hold on, I'm looking at my list here, is Us.
Okay, cool.
For me, I think Us had flaws because honestly, I think Jordan Peele was pushed to release it a little faster. He had more time. I think he could have developed a much more cleaner script. But I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought that Us did such a good job of describing what it was to be American and using a horror trope to do it. So the fact that he's able to do that with horror/suspense, I think that's what makes it that much more of an enjoyable movie. And if you haven't seen it, everybody who's seen it comes up to me and goes, I saw Us. I want to hear your thoughts. And I think it sparked a lot of discussion. And I really enjoy discussing films with people who don't often talk about movies. So I think that's what makes this movie that much great for this season. So go watch Us.
Damn it, Z, you picked my number 2.
Yeah.
So Us as well.
I did not pick it, by the way. You looked at my list.
No, I didn't. Screw you.
I'm covering my list.
My list is right here. You looked at my list.
Yeah, you're looking at the spreadsheet.
I'm looking at Dan's list, so it all evens out.
So yeah, for the same exact reason, but I love the fact that Jordan Peele just came up with this original horror film, and I just really enjoyed where this film was coming from. I thought he did such a great job with it. Mike, what's your number? Did I skip you?
No.
Number 1. Number 1?
My number 1 is your guy's number 2.
Oh, well, there we go.
I can prove it to you. See? Look. See?
No,
I'm not lying.
I feel like you skipped.
That says Greta.
What was your?
Yes, it was Greta.
Wait, no.
Greta's not my number 1.
We skipped his number 2, didn't we?
No.
His number 2 was about
my number 2 is Alita. So my number 1 is Us.
Okay,
I enjoyed it. Fun.
What was your number 3?
My number 3 was Triple Frontier.
Oh,
that's right. I completely ignored everything Mike had said.
I'm ignoring what I'm saying as well. So
I blanked it all out. I completely forgot about it.
I completely forgot.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
So Us, Mike?
Us is my number 1. Yeah.
Why?
Because I didn't see enough films.
All right, fair enough.
No. Us. Although I feel like it's not as strong of a film as Get Out, I think it's still enjoyable and succeeds at what it does.
Yeah.
And people mistake it for a home invasion film, and I don't think that's what it is. And
what do you think it is?
It's almost like, it almost feels like it's almost like a zombie film by the end of it.
Yeah.
So it feels way more like a zombie film than a home invasion film. So, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and there are some plot points that are flawed, but I forgive it because of how it delivered and other elements of it. So
Z, since you're accusing me of looking at your list, and I'm not even looking at you right now.
Yeah.
There's countdown, and
At the same time?
At the same time, we'll see what number 1 is.
Okay, so we say it on 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
After 1.
After 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't cheat and don't say before.
You want me to count for you guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
So
After 1.
So it's like this,
one-
like three, like the Rochambeau, like 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. And
Captain
then you guys-
Marvel. Oh, wait.
You know,
Okay.
he was just testing it
Oh,
out.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Yes, Captain Marvel.
Is that your number 1?
It is my number 1, yeah.
That one's not on my list.
I know it's not on your
Yeah,
list.
we know it's on your list.
We just
Z.
finished
I
your
mean,
list,
Mike.
Mike.
So you guys preferred Captain Marvel over us?
Well,
That's interesting.
and it's funny because I was putting it on a scale. So, Dan, I'm sure you have a different reason. For me, it was more of a scale of which movie for me was enjoyable and didn't have as many flaws. Us, for me, had more flaws than Captain Marvel did. And I
Interesting.
think that the messages
Okay.
in Captain Marvel were actually really relevant to where we're at. And the fact
Okay.
that Captain Marvel was able, in the same way that Captain America Winter Soldier was able to talk about an entirely different genre in the superhero genre. That's what I enjoyed about it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good buddy cop movie, and the cat stole the show. So there you go.
Okay.
Actually, it's the same exact reason.
Well, then fuck it. We're done.
All right. Well, we haven't done our 3 most disappointing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was our 3 most disappointing
Although I
movies.
feel like me and Dad might have the same list.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Z, you go first this time.
Thank you. On the bottom of not fun movies, for me, number 3 is Dumbo.
Oh, okay.
You know, honestly, Tim Burton, we get it. You like to do weird and zany things, but it was just not that good. It was too long, and honestly, you could have dropped several characters and made a much better film. This movie really, for me, was a disappointment. I went in kind of expecting to see a Tim Burton film, but instead got a Disney-fied version of him. And that's saying something. That's not saying that, like, you know, he lost his craft in some way, because he has the craft. When he's doing original material, he does something really interesting. But this movie just wasn't a Tim Burton film. I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel his world, his language, and because of that, I don't know whether or not he was playing it safe, but for me, that's what didn't make it any good.
This movie needed 2 Danny DeVitos.
It's
and
or an Arnold Schwarzenegger to be his twin.
That would have also been equally as
That's
perfect.
what I'm saying. Like, there was missed opportunities here to make
Yes,
this as
yes.
weird as possible.
Yeah.
And honestly, the CGI was really bad. I really didn't like the CGI in this movie.
I did, but Mike?
My number 3 is the same as these. I swear it is.
Yeah.
I have it on my list.
Show
here.
us your no.
Yeah. Yeah, so number 4, similar reasons. Yeah. Dumbo, number 3.
You know, realizing that this season, I think I gave everything like a dine-in.
That
So
sounds
I
like
can't-
something
I don't
you
really
do.
have-
though.
I
Sounds
don't
like
really-
a Dan thing.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really have that many disappointing films. I will say, I guess, my least favorite film.
Sure.
I mean, my least.
Your least dine-in film?
Yeah, to my leftovers.
Sure. Okay.
I'm gonna do a Lego Movie only because
You know what?
Wow.
That was fighting for my list too. Yeah.
That's
only because
interesting. Okay.
I really enjoyed it. But from all the movies that we saw this past season, I feel like that one was a little disappointing
Yeah.
in the sense
Really?
that it didn't live up
Okay.
to the first one. There were, I don't know.
No, I agree. I think that the story in the
You could tell that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were not really a part of this film.
Yeah, I agree.
As they were in the first one.
Okay.
It wasn't as self-aware as the first one was. But
I
I mean, I did enjoy it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it wasn't
I
a
think
knockout.
I think what you just said was the reason why I didn't like it is just because it wasn't self-aware enough, and we were expecting a different caliber story, and instead they went with something different. I didn't like that either. I was fighting for my list.
Yeah. Z, what's your number 2?
Oh, my number 2. Well, let me turn my list around. My number 2 is Captive State.
Okay.
You know, realistically, I wasn't expecting much from this movie, but I was hoping for something like Attack the Block, and instead I got Attack the Sock. It was not that good. It was just a really bland sci-fi movie. I understand what they were doing. However, I would have enjoyed seeing this in an hour version or an hour and a half version of a Black Mirror episode. It really wasn't something that I wanted to watch in theaters, and because it didn't thrill me, it didn't show me anything new. I could have done without it. It was disappointing.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike?
Okay. I think I said Take Out for this film. My number 2 is Greta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, I think you said dine
No,
in.
you
Mike.
said
No,
dine in.
no.
You had said dine in.
It was all three because I think
Did
you
I?
did leftovers.
Yeah.
I said takeout. And you said dine in.
That is
that's-
absolutely true.
that's right.
You loved the movie.
I didn't love
you
it.
suck because
No,
of that
no. I
reason.
remember. I saw like a different film before this. Which is not fair to
Yeah,
put
that's
on
right.
my
You
list.
did.
It's not fair to put on my list because it's not like it isn't.
It wasn't a feature.
It wasn't like a major feature film, so I can't say it's competing with these other films. It wouldn't be fair to throw on my list.
But you're putting Greta number 2.
Yeah,
even though you
on my
called
most
it a dine-in.
Yeah, I did, but it's yeah.
You suck, Mike.
You have to understand the circumstances.
No, I don't.
Yeah. You
No,
do.
I don't.
It was almost.
I can't say this. I can't say anything because
He gave a rating based on a previous experience. You have
Yeah,
to watch
yeah.
a movie fresh.
I did the same thing. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know
It's
how
okay,
much.
Mike.
I didn't know how much it was gonna skew my perspective.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah. So it's my number 2.
I expect an apology later. No, I don't. It's fine.
My number 2 is also my number 1 because that's it. I don't have anything else I can really list.
Okay.
Is Greta as well?
I like how it bleeds. Like, that's how bad it was. It
Okay,
takes 2
that's
slots.
fine. That's fine.
I'm
my number
okay
1
with
is
that.
also Greta because Greta was absolutely trash.
Can my
It
number
was-
1 also be?
Yes.
No. My number 1.
No, you get number one.
No,
You
I'm
get
gonna
revoked.
I'm gonna give my number 1.
No, I want to hear his number 1.
Okay,
But
all
go on.
right.
It's a Captive State. So
Oh, okay.
I would still rather watch Greta than Captive State.
Oh,
I
think that's entirely wrong.
No.
I enjoy Captain
I
State.
would rather watch Greta than Captive State. That's why Captive State is
You
my
know what?
number 1.
You know what,
Most
though?
disappointed
I like
film.
Greta. It's back on my no.
No. But you know what
I'm
though?
kidding, I'm kidding,
But you know what though? I'll agree with Mike on
I've
this.
converted Dan.
You know what?
Dan loves Greta now.
I'll agree with Mike on this. I was not actually expecting much out of Greta. I knew walking in it was going to be garbage.
Right?
So I understand why Captain State was more disappointing to you. However, my number 1 is definitely Greta. That movie, I don't know whether or not I was watching a comedy or a horror, but I'm pretty sure it was none of those because nobody was laughing and nobody was scared in that theater. People were asleep. Maybe it was a movie to make you fall asleep.
Okay.
It was just an awful movie. It didn't. Honestly, tell me a character's name in that movie aside from Greta.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, Greta.
You know, and you know what? And that.
Tell me what the main character is of the film. I just don't know.
But the other part for me was the one blonde girl who I don't remember her name and that
Michael Monroe
stupid
character.
ass ending
it doesn't
where all of a sudden she
matter.
became the Punisher or something.
Yeah.
I don't. It's such a stupid ass movie. Don't watch that movie unless you're really really high. I mean, like
Yeah,
honestly, there's no reason to watch
Yeah,
it.
my memory of it like automatically shifted it down from
such
from
a-
dine-in to takeout. It still wasn't like the worst film.
It
of
was
the season
pretty
to
bad.
me. So.
Yeah, for me this season we didn't have like too much terrible movies. There were like
Yeah.
some stinkers, but they weren't like too bad. At least for me. So I
I think Greta for me was like probably I really questioned walking out.
Like Captive State, it was difficult for me to watch.
Yeah, Captain State was
I didn't
really
get
rough.
that.
It was very like, it was very serious, and it was hard to handle like such like seriousness for like every I don't know.
Well, and I think what we talked about during the review was just it just felt disjointed. Like for me, I don't know whether or not there was issues with the main actor, but it did somewhat feel like they had contractual issues because the main actor all of a sudden just left the movie. Right during the movie he gets stuck in a box and then the movie's about somebody else and you're like, what is this movie about? What are you trying to tell me? You know?
Yeah.
And I was hoping for that movie for it to be a little bit more like Children of Men, and it wasn't. And I think that's what really disappointed me.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about our most anticipated film, which I will go first. And
That's not the Avengers.
That's not Avengers Endgame because it automatically is already Avengers Endgame, but it's not. It's not the one we're gonna pick.
Fair.
For me, it's gonna be Godzilla King of All Monsters. That's my most
Really?
anticipated film of next season.
I'm
It
scared.
looks great.
I'm scared of
It
it.
looks
No.
great. Oh my god! Everything to do with all the promos and stuff. I am so excited for that film.
Really,
I
haven't seen anything that really makes me enthusiastic about it.
I agree with Dan. The trailer looks promising,
Okay,
and
okay.
I hope it doesn't end up on my most disappointed list.
Yeah, me too.
I'm kind of thinking that it might just go on my list because it just I don't. But again, I'm not.
What's your pick?
Mine's gonna go with John Wick 3.
Oh,
That's a good one,
yeah.
too.
Because John Wick. I mean, listen. I know you guys have a history.
The first,
The first one,
Yeah.
the second one is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second. I agree.
For me, I think the first one was
And
great.
I
The
am
second
waiting
one was greater.
And I'm waiting for the intercontinental spin-off, or the continental spin-off.
Oh,
film.
they're doing a spin-off on that?
No, I'm just waiting for them to do one.
Okay.
I mean, I think that.
I thought you said
Or a
there was-
TV show or something.
Yeah.
that would be great.
But I think ultimately the John Wick series has just grown over time. And I think that's really why I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see John Wick shoot more people.
It keeps getting better.
It does.
Gung Fu.
And again, right? Gung Fu.
Gung
But
Fu,
just think
yeah.
about this. This entire series started from the death of a dog. And I don't think anything tells me more about what I care about this character than that. Like, I would kill someone if they hurt my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
Tolkien. I'm looking forward to
Really?
Tolkien. Yeah.
Tolkien.
I love Lord of the Rings, so.
Okay.
What's up, Rigo? How's it going?
Hey, Rigo.
Oh, no, he joined when he left.
Oh, bye, Rigo.
Bye, Rigo. We'll see you in the shower.
It's like, those guys? I'm out. Yeah, so Tolkien, I'm looking forward to that film. So,
It keeps on saying, like, it sounds like you're saying token.
It does.
Like
Yeah.
T-O-K-E-N.
Yeah, that's exactly what
But
I'm hearing
it's
too.
Tolkien. The guy who created
It's
Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien.
that's how I'm saying it. Token.
Damn it, Mike.
Cool whip. All right, what's your what's your film, then?
No,
You
you're
said it,
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
I know. I was testing you.
So this is our finale.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening to us. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you. Thank you, Brian Lozano. Thank you,
Thanks, Brad.
JJ. Thank
Yep.
you, Rigo. Thank you, everyone else who's been watching us live. So if you're listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcast, we do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Make sure to visit our website at moviemenupodcast.com. There you can find reviews, our YouTube channel. You can go follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure to listen to our past reviews since we will be gone for a couple of weeks, but we will be back just in time for Avengers Endgame, since I have all the tickets. All the tickets.
All the tickets.
Thank you so much, Z.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Dan.
And I'm Dan the Man. Until next time, we say goodbye. See you soon.
See you later.
2, 3, 4. Skip it.